Our most top pieces of advice today is to deal with it. It's ugly. It's not going to always feel good, but y'all gotta deal with y'all Hey y'all, welcome to Double Dose.
Giving you what you need.
Two times. Last week we had our first video in the Pick Up Your Feelings series for our mental health. So we'll be talking about depression, anxiety, PTSD, grief, and stress. So we talked about depression last week. Today we'll be talking about anxiety.
Yes. So for starters, we just want you to know, again, we are not professionals. We're just here giving you some resources and letting you know what anxiety looks like in yourself and in your friends as well.
And also we'll be looking at notes, so if you're looking down, that's why. Yes. Okay, so what is anxiety? Anxiety is a normal reaction to stress. Right? It helps us avoid danger. However, anxiety disorders present when we have excessive fear. So who can it affect?
Men, it can affect women, and it can also affect young adults and teens.
So what are the causes? You have psychological, so it can be we're thinking too much about things that we can or cannot control. You have environmental, so outside aspects coming in and basically shaking some things up and affecting you internally. Then you also have genetics, so basically it can come from your parents, your grandparents, all of those things. So you definitely need to check in with your people to see what kind of mental disorders or mental illnesses, especially with your spouses, because it can impact your children as well.
So when you think of anxiety, what specific types are there? And these are some types that we are about to name. So you have generalized anxiety, you have separation anxiety, you have panic disorders, and social anxiety. Okay, so now we're talking about the symptoms and what it actually looks like. And depending on the type that you have, your symptoms definitely may vary and they may look different than what we are explaining right here.
First would be just feelings of uneasiness or like a constant nag. I know for me, it's sometimes like always in the background, and I would have to like take a moment. What's wrong with you? Because something is bothering me and I don't know what it is.
Yes,
like it's like a constant nag. So
right.
Yeah.
And also you'll be feeling overwhelmed, easily irritated, and you'll be worrying too much. Like about every little thing. Every little thing is going to bother you and make you question everything. And that's when you know when you're doing a little too much inside, and that's when you know you got a little something wrong.
Yes.
Or you got to check in on something.
So you have restlessness. I know oftentimes when people have anxiety, they pace a lot.
Yeah.
They can't sit still. Biting nails.
Yeah.
Picking at your cuticles. I know somebody with bad anxiety and they pick at their eyebrows.
Yeah. Or some pull out their hair because they thinking, and then all of a sudden they got this one patch. It's gone. So sometimes you can have heart palpitations or chest pain. So when you start thinking about something and your chest get a little funky, slow on down.
Okay. Funky meaning like your heart starts beating fast.
Something ain't right. You be like, ooh,
tightens.
Yeah, your chest tight. Just relax. All will be well. All will be well.
Also, you may have a change in appetite. So for me personally, I don't like to eat when I'm anxious. So I'm not hungry. No thank you. No thank you.
Sometimes you have irrational fear of the future. So sometimes you may think of worst case scenarios all the time. And those worst case scenarios, 9 out of 10 times will never happen. And when you put that much pressure on yourself, that also creates and causes more anxiety than normal.
And also you may see a change in your sleep. So you either may start sleeping too much because you just don't want to think about anything anymore, or you may not sleep enough because your brain can't stop moving. So sleeping could serve as a defense mechanism in order to protect your emotions and your well-being.
So muscle tension is also another symptom of anxiety. So when you are in a situation and your hands are clenched, or you clenched up on accident and you're not even thinking about it, that can also be a sign of anxiety as well.
And so I know she said before that depending on the type of anxiety that you have, you may experience different symptoms. So for panic attacks, you may experience dizziness, numbness, sweating, shaking. So different anxiety causes different symptoms. That's why it's important to get professional advice so that they can provide you the tools and resources to manage certain different types of anxiety.
So similar to the symptoms that we just named, you can also recognize these same symptoms in your friends and family members to help you get an understanding of what they may be going through. Because sometimes, once again, we always go through something and sometimes we don't know how to verbalize it. So that may be changes in personal behavior. So they're overreacting over little things. They too are worrying about way too much when it has nothing to do with them and their situation or you. It sometimes just becomes overbearing and overwhelming.
So you may say that they're overreacting or tripping or doing too much. So just be mindful of how you talking to people. Like, you just don't know what's going on internally. But it's also important for, if I'm dealing with the anxiety, to verbalize how I'm feeling.
At least try.
So we need more communication between us so that we can kind of support each other. So we basically told y'all all of the bad things about anxiety. So how can we manage?
Right.
All right. So of course we'll always encourage you to go to therapy first, or just seek professional advice.
Number one.
That's just always going to be number one.
Number one.
Number two is to talk it out. A lot of times anxiety is literally just sitting in our heads. So we need to start talking out what we're thinking about. I know for me personally, I go from 0 to 100. So I might be thinking about something.
Yeah.
I might be thinking about the shoes that I got on today and end up trying to figure out what I'm gonna wear on my wedding. Like that's dramatic, but seriously, that's how my mind just jump. I just be jumping and jumping and jumping, and that jumping, child.
So another one is practicing mindfulness. So that can be meditation, that can be listening to calm music, that can be practicing intentional grounding, as far as being aware of where you are, what's going on, and the situations that you are facing, and being honest about it. Also focus on breathing techniques to help calm you down and to slow your heart rate. So when you think of meditation, sometimes we think of it as, oh, I'm supposed to sit still and I'm not supposed to think. Oh, I can't stop thinking because my mind just keeps racing. Because every time you meditate, your mind will start racing 1,000 times more than it was when you were just walking down the street. But meditation is not simply stopping your thought process. It is simply acknowledging it and acknowledging your thoughts, letting them pass by, and going right back to your breath and just breathe. It's just letting them go by and you not holding on to them and paying attention to that instead of focusing on your breath.
And a lot of times we suffer from anxiety because we like to sweep stuff under the rug. Our subconscious remembers, even though our conscious does not remember, our subconscious remembers something that's irritating you. So even though it's not at the forefront of your mind, it's still there. So it's just better to acknowledge why you're feeling like that, attack it right then and there. Okay, I'm stressed out. Okay, so what can I do about it?
So and release it right then and
Yes.
there. Because if you keep holding on to that, you'll be seeing somebody later on who did you wrong. You may not remember exactly what they did, but you'll remember how they made you feel, and you start putting yourself back in the same position that you were in before. Because they say that when you have negative memory recall, you basically put your body through the same entire experience that you went through that time. So even if it was 20 years ago, 20 years later, you are still putting your body through the same experience, all because you didn't let go and release what you were supposed to handle 20 years ago.
So one of our most top pieces of advice today is to deal with it. It's ugly. It's not going to always feel good, but y'all gotta deal with y'all All right, so another way to manage anxiety is to move.
Right.
It's a lot of energy in here that needs to be released. So you need to go for a walk. You need to exercise, dance, sing. You better belt from your belly, okay? Get it out your system. Yes, okay, yell, scream, do what you gotta do. Just be mindful of where you yelling and screaming because we don't want no issue.
Right.
Okay, so I don't know. I don't really watch anime like that, but I do know, you know how sometimes they be like, forming energy from out of nowhere. Sometimes that's how anxiety feels. It's just too much energy up in here. So you need to release it somehow, some way.
So you can also make schedules. If you have a lot on your plate and you are starting to get overwhelmed, because remember, being overwhelmed is a sign of anxiety. So when you start to feel overwhelmed, you can actually create a schedule and make sure you put breaks in those schedules. So if you have something from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., then you need to put something in there at 2:30 to get up, go downstairs or go outside to check the mail, get some water, use the bathroom, whatever. But you need to get moving and you need to get up and go. Especially if a lot of us are working home from now, and so you have to stay moving because we don't need to be gaining weight or losing too much weight. We need to make sure we are as healthy as we can manage to be. And also refrain from procrastination, because the longer you procrastinate, last minute anxiety is going to hike up, and we can't afford that right now.
It's going to be like, oh, you wanted to wait till the last minute? Hey, boo. How you doing today? I'm going to be on you all day because you waited till the last minute, so stop doing that.
What she said.
So, I know we said this about depression, but we got to say this again about anxiety.
Right.
Please be mindful of what you allow, what you're listening to, what you're watching, and the type of people that you have in your space.
Right, and also unplug from social media.
Absolutely.
Because social media can be a great thing. It's a beautiful thing. We're here now, right? But social media can also bring up deep-rooted comparison issues, which also leads to insecurities. And then that leads to anxiety, because now you seeing all these models and you trying to figure out how you can get your body right ASAP. No. Or you can figure out how to get money up ASAP. When people really broke on YouTube and Instagram, they just flexing. It's called capping. It's called cap and crunch. But we'll talk about that in another video. However, the purpose of social media is to be a great thing for you to reach out to others and connect with others. But when you start comparing yourself to other people's lives when you don't know their story,
Absolutely.
that's when it becomes an issue. Okay?
So get off social media. Take a break every once in a while.
Right.
Stop being a fiend.
And also, for all of my news watchers, and also for all of my news watchers, you do not have to watch the news every single hour on the hour. I don't know about y'all, but watching the news is depressing.
But also, during the election, my dad watched the news every day, all day for like 4 weeks. And he would come home with all kinds of stories and stuff. I'm like, sir, I don't care. Like, keep that to yourself. Like, and it started making him do too much. Like, calm down. The world is not about to end.
He became the COVID police.
Okay? Yeah. Like, calm down.
Inside.
Okay? Yeah, we ain't went nowhere for 5 weeks. Okay? We was gonna have to wear hazmat suits in a second.
Is that how you say it?
Hazmat?
Hazmat. But basically, moral of the story is take breaks. Take time away from your phone. Take time away, because you need that time to regroup and then be ready to come back. Back to life. Back to reality. So break. All right. Once again, another way to manage is pray, read the Bible, go to church, talk to your pastor, watch church online. We said that in a depression video, and it will be linked in the description box below. Definitely reach out to those sources, especially if spirituality is very important to you.
Now, this is like the number 2, well, maybe not the number 2, but number 3. Number 3, most important, is try to focus on what you can control. A lot of times anxiety is looking too far into the future, and we're worried about things that we have either control over or no control at all.
Right.
So let's focus on the things that we can control. So what about your situation can you control? What can't you control? So you can control you. All the external factors going on around you, you cannot control.
You sure can.
And if you need to remove yourself in order to control the situation, then that's an option as well. So just think about that.
And you cannot control, just a side note, but you cannot control their reactions. So if you send a text, if you make a move, you can't control how they respond to what you just did. So do not expect the worst, because at the end of the day, it's only your thoughts that matter. Stop thinking about everybody else's thoughts. Stop thinking about what other people have to say. That has nothing to do with you. Okay? Everybody else's thoughts about you, everything that they have to say has nothing to do about you. Nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with you. So,
and have y'all ever thought about something like, I think they think this, and then asked them or spoke to them and they say, child, I wouldn't even think about you.
like, nobody is even worried about
Or
you.
vice versa. They might have done it to you. Like,
Right.
girl, I was thinking about what I'm going to eat for lunch.
Right,
Like, what y'all think about you?
life. Like, nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody
So,
got time for that.
we got to stop assuming I do it too, so I'm not going to sit here and act like.
Correct. I'm guilty.
But, and I've been told, like, girl,
Sit down. Sit down.
basically.
Okay, so when it comes to food and what we consume, what we put inside of our bodies, let's chill on the sugar, okay? Because it hypes your body up. You may not feel it right then and there, but you'll feel it later on. And you wouldn't want to give your kids candy before going to bed because they be hyped, right? So imagine you eating the same candy as an adult and then all of a sudden your hands start shaking, right? You got that, ooh, wait, no, it's anxiety.
You're so funny.
Okay, it's that sugar. Also, processed foods. Now, processed foods, sometimes we like them, no big deal, right? However, this is the moment where you start paying attention to what you're putting inside of your body. Because processed foods can affect mood disorders and can affect social behavior. So be mindful of that as well. And also, the main one, the number one food or substance that you need to be mindful of is caffeine. Okay? Yes. Especially for the people who barely drink coffee. Like, you'll feel it more than people who drink it on a regular basis. Because caffeine, well, let me just say this. For example, I was at an event and I decided to try an espresso. I never had it. Ooh, I like free stuff. That's my problem.
That's your problem.
That's my problem. I like free stuff. Somebody walked around from Starbucks with a little tray. They said, hey, you want to? Yes. Yes, I would. Who wouldn't? Who wouldn't?
Somebody with some sense.
Yeah, I should have. Because I started moving around and I was like, oh, this is pretty good. I mean, it's nasty, but it's good in a way. Like, I feel grown. I'm drinking coffee. However, by 30 minutes into the event, I was texting my family. I was like, oh man, I'm hyped. Like, I got all these great ideas. I'm at this event. Like, it's going down. Oh my gosh. I also just had an espresso. Never had it before. Y'all know I'm going crazy. Hands started shaking. I'm over here talking to people. My voice cracked. What's going on? Like, what's going on?
And y'all know she dramatic.
But I was like, hey, how are you? Would you like to go to this event?
Tambourine.
Period. Okay. So be mindful of that as well. And word of the day is mindfulness.
Yes. That was word of the day last time too. So just be
It's
mindful.
today. It's gonna be for the whole series because you need to be mindful of what you are doing so that you can help prepare yourself to move forward. And last but not least, don't overthink things. It can be the smallest things, and she said it before. Cynthia said it before.
What's my name?
Cynthia said it before. Don't try to.
What did I say?
Cynthia said it earlier, to not allow things you can't control to control you. And overthinking can be the number one thing that can control you and bring anxiety. So try not to overthink things if you can help it. If you had something to say to somebody and it's burning on your soul, but you scared to say it, oh, I don't know if I should say it, but what if I do say it? Oh, maybe I shouldn't say it. Nah, I quit. I'm not going to say it. Girl, say it. Boy, say it. Just say it. Because when you overthink things, it's just going to make things worse. And we can't afford that in 2021. Okay? Okay, thank you.
All right. So we know we made it sound easier said than done.
Right.
But we have to start somewhere. So just be mindful. If you haven't taken anything away from today, be mindful of what you're thinking about. You control your thoughts. A lot of times we have control over things that we think we don't have control over. If we don't have control over it, you can either have it removed from your life, just remove it, or think about it in a different way. Change your perspective. Okay, so cut the phone off, cut your social media out sometimes, cut out people. Shoot, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Minimize caffeine, sugar,
Yes.
processed foods.
Get to moving, dance like we said, get some air, release the energy, and try like small activities that can bring you down. So try Sudoku, try to read, listen to calm music. Sometimes you just need to sit in silence, sit outside and just the nature in silence. Everything is different strokes for different folks. Everything may not work for everybody.
Right. Now, if you need more from us discussing anxiety or even depression, let us know. We make these videos for you guys and for ourselves as well. However, we need to know what you need more of. So if you want us to do breathing techniques with you, if one day you want us to have a mindfulness session, whether it's live or recorded, you let us know so we can get that out to you guys as soon as possible. Okay, so we discussed the different types of anxiety. We also told you what it looks like in your friends and families and how to recognize it in yourself. And we even talked about how to manage anxiety.
So some of the resources that we'll be posting below.
Slow down.
Some of the resources. Call me Twister.
Call you Buster Rhymes. Bust the twist.
Bust and bust. All right, so some of the resources that we'll be placing below, we have done our research. Like we said in the last video, if you have any resources that you would like us to include in our content, please feel free to include it or email us at askdoubledose@gmail.com and we can just add it to our next videos. Also, this one of the resources that we'll be tagging in our video throughout is by Dr. Patrice N. Douglas. She's super dope when it comes to mental health in the Black community, raises a lot of awareness, and she has a lot of good content on her IG page. So we'll be linking that below. If you have any questions, let us know. And we appreciate your time.
And it's time to go.
It's time to go.
Peace.